Hi, this is Caroline. Thanks for joining us today. My guest is Ondi Timoner. She is a multi-award winning documentary filmmaker, and her latest project is called Coming Clean. It talks about the opioid epidemic that we are facing here in the United States. Welcome to the show, Ondi.
First of all, Caroline, thank you for having me on. This was not a topic that I thought a lot about, perhaps, like per se. I just had documented around it and people that had struggled with heroin in different films of mine ever since my movie Dig, which I started filming in 1996, and the lead character became a heroin addict in the course of making the film. I never really thought of it as something that touched all of us in the way that it does now. And I don't think back then it even did. It's so widespread now. And when I was approached by the Parker Foundation, the goal that they had in mind was Alexandra Parker specifically wanted to break the stigma around addiction, specifically opioid addiction, and really felt like the shame that people feel and the hopelessness that people feel is really driving the epidemic. And I didn't know much about it, but what I did do right away was look at all the films that have been made on the topic, of which there are plenty. They're all dark. They're all, there's one called Heroin Cape Cod, where it's a bunch of wealthy people on Cape Cod with needles in their arms and they can't help but use. And, it was like, there's films that tackle the topic from different angles, but all of them are stigma building. I think they all make us more scared and more hopeless and more distanced. And I thought, you know what? There's a film to be made here because these are human beings and this is a disease and this is very misunderstood. But what I have to do as a filmmaker is figure out how I can get all of the information that you need into a 90-minute film, or 100 minutes in my case, in this case. But in a way that it's emotional, that you actually you're rooting for people, that there's recovery and solutions in it. And there's also, like you said, it's humanizing, so that there's a real understanding that this could be me and this person that I have in my life that acts weird or I haven't talked to in a while, and I don't really want to peel that off and look into it. I should probably reach out to that person, and that really underlying the entire problem is isolation. The opposite of addiction is connection. So of course, during COVID, overdose deaths have skyrocketed. They're more than double now. And we're talking about, over 80,000 people dying every year. And behind that, hundreds of thousands of people addicted. So I didn't feel like there was a film that took care of this problem and could be like an emissary of change. And that's what I hope we made with Coming Clean.
Yeah, you absolutely accomplished that. I mean, what the statistics that were in the film, one that really stuck out to me was that there's a jumbo jet line. If a jumbo jet crashed, that many people a week are dying of opioid deaths. And that's just a crazy amount of people. And the other thing that really stuck out to me that I want to dig into is that connection is the key, and isolation is one of the worst culprits of people that have any addiction.
Which is why the stigma is the real issue. I mean, to think that they're hopeless, that they're going to get addicted again, that they're going to relapse, that they are like not worth saving, is something that I think is a lot more common thinking than anyone would want to admit. But I think that's why Stacey Pedersen in the film is so important. She was an opioid addict for 30 years.
Right.
And she's the mother of State Senator Brittany Pedersen of Colorado. And Brittany never was public about it because of the stigma and didn't want to be judged for it. But her mother had 20 overdoses during the course of her life and finally decided to get sober and wanted to get sober. And there was nowhere to take her. There was no help to get. And that's when Brittany really understood just how lacking our system is in providing care and treatment for people. And so she went about passing all these reforms that, put Colorado as the top state in the union in terms of how they handle opioid addiction and recovery. But anyway, her mother, Stacy, has been sober for like 3 years now, that I've been filming. And went from like, it cost Colorado $1 million a year to keep her alive.
That's the other thing. The amount of
money
money
she has a job and she's a tax-paying citizen helping other people get sober. It's like, do you really want, like, it doesn't even make financial sense to continue to ignore this, So
Exactly. So you have a Dave Navarro is part of your team that's helping to promote and be part of this initiative. What got him interested in helping you, with coming clean, and how has it changed his life to be a part of this project?
So I reached out to my friend Shepard Ferry, who is the, brilliant designer and artist behind so many murals that we love, and the Hope poster for Obama and Obey. And I made a movie about him some years ago, a short film called Obey the Artist. And he's somebody that just knows a lot of people. And I asked him if he thought that there was anyone in his sphere that would appreciate a film that tackles the opioid epidemic from the perspective of solutions and recovery, and trying to almost make a food Inc. for addiction. And he immediately said, Dave Navarro is really active in that world, is a recovering addict. And I didn't, I said, yeah. He's like, would you mind if I share the film with him? And I said, no, go, sure, go right ahead. And literally like 2 hours later, my phone rang and it was Dave saying, I will do anything I can to help you with this. This is such an important film. It's the most important film of the last 20 years. Yeah. So he did a Q&A with the cast, and so if you go to lemle.com, which is LAEMMLE.com, and maybe you can post it in the notes, but at least through February 18th, we've been doing pretty well with our online virtual cinema stuff. If you watch the film on there, right afterwards, there's a Q&A that Dave Navarro hosts with the whole cast. And it's really wonderful, actually, to be interviewed by someone who went through it, and someone who has such talent, actually, as a host himself. I mean, he hosted a show called Inc. for about tattoos and stuff. So he has he has a lot of on-camera experience, and he's just a very dynamic, very honest person. And that's kind of been the joy of this ride I've been taking with this film, Caroline, is that everyone involved in it is involved in it for the right reasons, and highly transparent, passionate, authentic. And so I've learned more of just becoming even more of all those things myself from hanging with this crew, So when you see this Q&A, it's like there's so much love on the screen. And Destiny, who's an incredible inspiration, she's a recovering addict in the film. She started crying at the end of the Q&A and said, David, this has been the easiest and best Q&A. We've done like a lot of Q&As because we had a really great festival tour with the film. And she's done a ton. She's always awesome. But she said, this has made so much more comfortable because you've gone through this. And I just feel that from you. And I know that you understand. So it's been a pleasure. And then he's just been posting about it on social media, putting up reels, and just supporting the whole thing. So I'm very grateful to him. And anytime I thank him, he just says it's an honor. So
yeah, I watched that last night and it was fantastic. And when he engaged with Destiny, addict to addict, and just like hope. This film is about hope, and it's about also like practical things that we need to do to tackle the epidemic. You go into what I call the villains of the opioid epidemic, and you have this ensemble cast of people that are amazing. You have an admiral, you have senators, you have the mayor, right?
I guess to sum up, like kind of what you're saying is it's not usual for me to do a movie with an ensemble.
That's where I was going with this. This is a total departure for you.
Yeah, I don't do that generally. The reason I did it in this case is because I had to. show that this thing is impacting everybody
Everyone.
and that it's really an even playing field. It really doesn't matter. Here's Admiral Winnefeld, second in command in the military. And, you know, his job was to protect our country under Obama and Bush from foreign and domestic invaders and people that are going to terrorists. And he couldn't stop opioids from taking his own son 4 days into college, you know? And so seeing that is impactful. But the other thing that's really cool about the film is that all of these policy leaders are actually affected by personal experience with addicts. So taking the number of the jumbo jet or the, you know, the fact that it's a Super Bowl worth of people dying every year, you know,
Right.
those kinds of numbers, or even those visual metaphors, taking it to a very personal level. When you know, when Mayor McAdams, then Congressman McAdams has Destiny Garcia working at his front desk and then realizes that she's actually better on the phones and with like the tension that comes into a mayor's office, she can handle it better because of all the trauma she's endured as an addict. And that mental health parity now becomes something that he is leading with in his policy. You know what I mean? Whereas maybe before he wasn't as affected. It's that connection again between the addicts and the policy leaders that is driving this film and these participants of this film and all the movements that are coming out of it forward. And so the idea is, can a film, and my hope is that it can, touch you in that way? Can these people, and seeing them, touch you in a way that you know people now? Like, can you feel like, did you feel like you know them now? And I hope the answer is yes, but you know, I don't know. I just really hope that this makes a difference in that way. And by the way, one huge, powerful force in the film, who also thinks this is the most important film about anything health related ever, he says, is Mike Moore, the lead prosecutor of the opioid lawsuits.
Yeah.
He takes us all the way through the history of how the hell this happened to us.
Right.
How did this happen? It is so maniacal. The profit over our pain.
The villain. That's what I call the
profiting off
villain.
our pain. Yeah, it's there. I mean, it's truly villain. So I love the name Coming Clean because it's about addicts coming clean, but it's also about profiteers being pulled out of the darkness and into the light where they have to face what they've done, where all of this insidious BS of, you know, oh, it's not addictive. It's less than 1% addictive. I mean, just bold-faced lies.
Yeah.
While hundreds of thousands of people have died. So yeah,
Right.
understanding that is really important too, in order to understand how to get out of it, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, it does a very good job of giving you the history of where it came from, what happened, how the big pharma got involved, you know, and to today with the fentanyl crisis, you know, it's every day. I mean, people
It's
are
on
dropping
Netflix.
dead. And what did Dave say on the Q&A? That he had
four people this year.
4 people in 2021 that he knows.
Yeah.
That was like mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So what can people do to get involved, to make a difference? Like, what are actionable items that we can tell people to do?
That's a wonderful question. So the first thing you can do right now, if you're watching this, is you can send people to see the movie. And that's fairly simple. All you got to do is go to comingcleanmovie.com and you can link to the online cinema link there.
Right. And everything will be in the notes section on YouTube and everywhere I post this. So
Great.
It's all there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just send people to Coming Clean Movie. That's easy to remember. Even if you search Coming Clean Film, you'll land there. And then you can link through and see the Q&A. And if you love it, you can spread the word. You can see the film, see the Q&A. And then also on the website, you can sign up there. You can write us, and you know, there's a join the fight section, and you can say, I want to host a screening, or let me know how I can help, and we will get back to you with that. And then we're going to try to put something together so that people can host their own screenings and have like a guide to go with it. And with Dave's permission, maybe keep the Q&A attached and do that in the near future. But we're going to be coming out. Like, we're definitely going to be available nationwide at some point. I think that if you know anybody who is in a high level of government, whether it's in Congress or an aide to Biden, getting this film to the White House would be, I think, one of the is my ultimate goal, because I think that someone like President Biden seeing this will understand this thoroughly. It's kind of like one-stop shopping of like, here's how the disease works. Here's how it impacts your body. It's not a choice. It's not a moral failing. And here's what we need to do to fix it. The solutions are actually quite simple, but it does require federal funding. And so we just need to, like, the lawsuits alone will not be enough money. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
we need to get policy leaders to act and realize that it's in everybody's best interest. Not only are mothers and sons and daughters and sisters and brothers and doctors and lawyers going to be saved from an unnecessary death after we've all experienced way too much death this year, but we'll save a lot of money. So
wonderful. And the other statistic that I heard in the movie is that all users, heroin users, start with prescription opioid medication, like 75% basically. But in the movie, there was a group, and raise your hand if you started, they were all heroin addicts. If you started with the opioid pills, and they all did. And we can't discount the marketing, and there's got to be legislation around marketing of these drugs on television.
That's a really, really good point.
That's
absolutely.
my biggest thing.
Yeah, they're allowed to purvey their lies.
Right.
I believe still to this day. And also, although I haven't checked, are they really allowed to still say that? I don't know if they're allowed to say that anymore. That's a really good question. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, I don't know. But all I know is that, like, anything that is addicting, so the people get blamed for being addicted, but yet there's marketing, and it's alcohol, and it's all kinds of everything that's just in your face 24/7. And so
also doctors prescribing, when you get into any kind of operation, or if you hurt your back, or if you hurt, like Stacy became an addict because her back, she fell on a skateboard and her back got hurt. If you have an issue that is a physical problem, and a doctor gives you opioids, first of all, if you don't recognize the name, you can ask, is this an opioid? And you can say you don't want an opioid. But if you do have an opioid, you need to throw them out as soon as you're not in pain anymore, because what happens is the drugs are also blocking emotional pain, unresolved trauma. Our country's not that great at dealing with mental health, obviously. And so, we have a lot, like anyone with childhood trauma has a proclivity to, is susceptible and vulnerable to addiction at a much higher level, because there's a lot of unresolved issues that the opioids are also blocking. The problem is that doesn't last forever. That's a very temporary fix. And then you're addicted. Then you have a bigger problem, which is you're addicted to opioids, and then you can't afford it anymore. So you go to heroin, and that's how it happens. And it happens to basically everybody. So it's not like, oh, those people,
Listen, trauma comes in many faces. There are some traumatic, especially in childhood situations, that are worse than others, definitely. But if you moved a lot when you were young, or just things that create a trauma, or you have some sort of a PTSD, it doesn't always have to be like the nth degree, highest level thing that creates a trauma within you. And people need to understand that. And our country needs to understand that. So, I think that this movie really tackles all these issues and creates a great foundation for people to really, take it and do something about it within their own world, in their own community, for sure. So I'd be remiss. Oh, thank you for doing this movie. I'd be remiss not to say, because I didn't do it in the intro, Ondi is a 2-time grand jury, Sundance Grand Jury Award winner for her documentaries. She is like one of the most amazing storytellers I've ever known. This film is beautiful to watch as well. Like just graphically, it's done so well. It's not a flat, scary, type of film. It's really, you did a beautiful job on making it a unique movie to watch, I think.
Thank you. I felt that it's such a dark topic. It really needs, it needed to be beautiful, and there needed to be grace brought to the people that have been struggling with this. I know a lot of them are going to see this film, and I wanted everyone to have an experience that was actually uplifting, even though it's tackling a really hard topic.
You did. It has heart, and like this film really has heart. So thank you so much for it. So let's tell everybody, you did great as usual. I'll have to say, Ondi and I met on an airplane. We picked up on each other going to South by Southwest, and we've been friends ever since. So thank you, universe, for bringing us together. So let everybody know again where they can find the movie, and I will have all the information in the notes, but just give them a shout out to how they can get in touch.
comingcleanmovie.com, or at comingcleanmovie on Instagram, or at comingcleanmovie on Facebook. And you can link right through. It's in virtual cinemas now with a unique Q&A you can only see when you get a ticket to the film. And then, yeah, please spread the word. And I'm Ondi Timoner on all things, all platforms, and in real life as well.
And in real life.
And in real life. And not on airplanes this year. I haven't been on an airplane in nearly a year, which is, I think it's kind of better. It's a little bit healthier. I'll be back on an airplane, and I was so glad to meet you on an airplane, but it is nice to take a little break from the radiation.
I think we all feel that way. Listen, I think that the world has been, gotten closer because we're all on Zoom, and not everyone can be connecting with people in Europe in person, but boy, I've been connecting with people all over the world thanks to Zoom and online video platforms. So I think that has brought people together, and yeah, it's a little bit more mellow. It's nice to take a break off. You definitely had some serious air travel miles behind you, for sure.
I'm really hoping they don't expire.
I love it. Well, Ondi, I am so grateful for you to come on and talk about Coming Clean, and I do hope that it, besides all the awards it should get, that it does get to our government. It gets to the right people making policy. And I know that I'll be sharing it with everybody for sure that I know. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
all right.
love to. Thanks very much.
You. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.